accusations. That one didn't go to trial, but did testify or told the sheriff nothing, absolutely nothing with me. And then in 2003, in your case, Mark.
Picture this. A man places his hand on a Bible, looks a judge in the eye, swears on everything he claims to believe that Michael Jackson never touched him. Not once, not ever. That was 2003. Fast forward to a documentary film crew setting up their cameras. Suddenly, the same man is describing the texture of Michael Jackson's hair while his mouth was on a 7-year-old. Same accuser, two completely different stories. And the gap between them? That gap is where the truth died. Here is the image that should haunt you for the rest of this video. Imagine a drawer, a locked drawer inside a man's desk. Inside that drawer sits a manuscript, hundreds of pages detailing alleged abuse that he swore under oath never happened. He tells no one about this book. He hides it. Years go by. Then, one day, a job opportunity falls through. Suddenly, that drawer opens, and the man who said nothing became the man who said everything. That is the visual anchor of this story. A hidden manuscript, a convenient memory, and a question nobody has answered. Welcome back to the CelebTea Files. We do not just cover the drama around here. We expose what the headlines are hiding from you. And if you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because this story about Wade Robson and Michael Jackson is one of the most twisted reversals in celebrity scandal history. You are going to want to be on the record for every single receipt we drop today. Let us rewind to
taking a look at the two men featured in this Leaving Neverland, quote unquote, documentary. Wade Robson they both met Michael when they were children. Wade was this Michael Jackson lookalike from Australia.
The beginning, because the beginning matters. Wade Robson was not just some random kid who met Michael Jackson. He won a dance contest in Australia, a Michael Jackson lookalike contest. Think about that irony for a second. He dressed up as the man he would later accuse. He got folded into Michael's orbit like a piece of paper sliding into an envelope. Music videos, tours, a choreography career that most dancers would kill for. He stayed close to the Jackson estate. He stayed close to Michael himself. For years, Wade Robson was the ultimate loyal soldier. And here is where the story twists so hard it should snap. He testified under oath in 1993. Nothing happened. He told the sheriff directly, nothing, absolutely nothing. He got back on the stand in 2003 as a defense witness for Michael Jackson. And under oath again, he said the same thing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. 3 times he had the chance to speak. 3 times he said the exact opposite of what he would say later. He said never, then he wrote a book. That is the refrain you need to remember. He said never, then he wrote a book. So what changed? Money, opportunity, and a documentary crew looking for a star witness. But here is what nobody is talking about, and I need you to pay close attention right here. When Wade Robson finally filed his lawsuit against the Michael Jackson estate, it did not happen in a vacuum. It happened right after he found out.
Sued the Jackson estate, reportedly after he found out that he was not going to get this job with Cirque du Soleil and their production of Michael Jackson. Cirque du Soleil had licensed some Michael Jackson songs, and they were sort of rehabilitating the MJ name. And he thought he was going to get a role with them and didn't, and reportedly had some sour grapes over it. And then lo and behold said, I was a victim too. And
he was not getting a job. A big job. Cirque du Soleil was producing a Michael Jackson tribute show. They were licensing the music, they were rehabilitating the MJ brand, and Wade Robson thought he was going to be part of it. Choreography, spotlight, paycheck. Then the call came. Or maybe the call never came. Either way, the job went to someone else. Sour grapes? Maybe. But here is what happened next. He reportedly had sour grapes and then, lo and behold, said, I was a victim too. That is not my phrase. That is straight from the transcript. Lo and behold, a grown man suddenly remembered decades of abuse right after a job rejection. And trust me, the next part gets so much worse. Because in the deposition for that civil lawsuit, the defense team asked him a very simple question. Did you ever write anything about these allegations? Not a hard question, right? Either you wrote something or you did not. Under oath, Wade Robson said, and I am quoting, never. Except he had written a whole book, chapters, pages, detailed allegations. The manuscript existed. It was sitting somewhere in digital form, probably on a hard drive or in an email draft. And when the defense team demanded to see it, he tried to wiggle out of producing it. That is the exact language from the transcript. He wiggled out. He tried to wiggle out. A judge had to issue an order forcing him to hand it over. Let that sink in. A judge had to force an accuser to hand over his own book about the abuse he said he never wrote about. He said never. Then he wrote a book. And then the metadata dropped.
Tried to wiggle out of doing it, and then they actually got some of the metadata from the drafts from the publishing companies. They went, the defense team, to publishing companies saying, did you get pitched a book about Michael Jackson by Wade Robson? And they did. And they got their hands.
For those of you who do not know, metadata is the digital fingerprint on any file. It tells you when a document was created, when it was edited, and sometimes even what changed between versions. The defense team went to publishing companies. They asked a simple question. Did Wade Robson pitch a book about Michael Jackson to you? And the answer came back, yes, multiple versions. And here is the dagger. His story differed from
on other versions of the book, and his story differed version to version.
From version to version, details changed, memories shifted. What was graphic in one draft became vague in another. What was certain in the final version did not exist in earlier drafts. That is not trauma. Trauma leaves scars that do not move around. That is storytelling. And a good storyteller knows that the third draft is always better than the first. But here's the part that should make every single person watching this feel genuinely angry. In his earlier deposition, before the documentary cameras started rolling, Wade Robson admitted he could not remember details. He had to ask his mom.
Yes, absolutely. There was, in that Lies of Leaving Neverland, they pointed out this thing I just mentioned about how Wade's deposition reveals that he had to ask his mom to remember details about the
to help him remember his own mother. He needed her to fill in the blanks. That is not my accusation. That is in the legal record. Then he sat down with the Leaving Neverland filmmakers, and suddenly his memory was crystal clear. He remembered the feeling of hair, the roughness like a Brillo pad. He could take you there. He could make you see it. He became a great storyteller. But great storytellers do not always make great witnesses. And a witness who is willfully false in one material part of his testimony can and should be disbelieved in others. That is not my opinion. That is a jury instruction.
In the presentation.
By the way, if you're in a jury trial and this happened, say that this kind of manipulation happened, you would get a jury instruction that says a witness who is willfully false in a material part of his testimony, he or she can be and should.
That is the law. Maybe the biggest lie in Leaving Neverland was not what Wade Robson said. It was what the documentary left out. They did not include his book drafts. They did not mention the metadata. They did not tell you about the job rejection. They did not show you the deposition where he needed his mom to remember for him. They just rolled the cameras, and they let a man with a convenient memory tell a horrifying story without any context. So here is the ticking clock question that reframes this entire scandal. What if the pattern here is not about Michael Jackson at all? What if the pattern is about how accusers with financial incentives and fading statutes of limitations can rewrite history years after the accused is dead and cannot defend himself? Because you never see people coming after the empty bags. That is a quote from the transcript. You do not sue a ghost.
And now you've got the estate, and you've got, and you don't see it happening against somebody who's to quote my other podcast and close friend Adam Carolla, you never see people coming after the empty bags. So
unless you think the ghost has money. And Wade Robson, he took advantage of a California law that resurrected dead claims that were out of time, expired, done. The law opened a window and he climbed through it. That is not justice. That is a loophole with a paycheck attached. He said never. Then he wrote a book. Then he swore he never wrote a book. Then he got caught. Then he blamed everything on a dead man. And here we are. So what do you believe? Do you believe the man who testified 3 times under oath and said nothing happened? Or do you believe the man who wrote a secret manuscript after a job fell through and then suddenly remembered everything for a documentary? Because you cannot believe both. The stories do not fit. The timelines do not match. And the metadata does not lie. Before we go, I need you to do 3 things. First, like this video because we are one of the only channels breaking down the receipts instead of just reacting to the tears. Second, subscribe to the CelebTea files and turn on those notifications because we are tracking every twist in every celebrity scandal unfolding in real time. And third, drop a comment below. Here is my question for you. Do you think Wade Robson lied then told the truth later? Or did he tell the truth then lied for a paycheck? Because both cannot be true. And the answer to that question changes everything. I will see you in the comments, and I will see you in the